It is a Saturday morning, and you are standing in the bathroom with the fan off and the mirror still fogged. There is a black crescent in the upper corner above the shower, right where the ceiling meets the tile. You have seen it before. You sprayed it before. $10 for a bottle of mold killer the first time. $12 for a different brand the second time because the first one did not hold. The stain faded for a few weeks, then the paint puckered, the caulk yellowed, and the black came back in the same spot, same shape, like it had never left. $22 gone, and you are standing in the same bathroom looking at the same patch, wondering whether to buy a third bottle or start calling contractors. That is the cycle, and it is expensive on a fixed income. $10 here, $12 there, then the repaint to cover the stain, another 8 or 10, then the caulk, then the next bottle when it blooms again, because the wall never actually dried and nobody told you that was the real problem. A family can spend $40, $50, $60 chasing the same wet corner year after year, and the mold keeps coming back because nothing they bought fixed what was feeding it. There is a way the old apothecaries knew, a follow-up that costs about $1.35 a batch. And it is not a magic bottle either, but it is honest, it is cheap, and it works in the right place for the right reason. The only reason you never heard of it is the same reason you never hear about most of the old low-cost ways. Nobody makes a living teaching a family to dry a wall and follow up with pennies. There is, however, a great deal of money in selling you one more $10 spray every few weeks, forever. By the end of this video, you will know exactly when that $1.35 follow-up is the right answer, when it is the wrong one, what to do first, what to throw away, and how to stop paying for the same patch twice. I want to be straight with you before I go further. This is not a story about a magic bottle. I know the title says a few dollars, and I will show you a few dollars. But I am not going to stand here and tell you that a mist from a spray bottle will save a wall that is already ruined. If that drywall behind the stain feels soft when you press it, if it is swollen or crumbling, or the paper is staining clean through, no honest woman should tell you a spray of anything will fix that. What I am going to show you is this. If you have a small patch on a surface that is still sound, and you fix the damp first, there is a cheaper, older way to handle the follow-up than buying another $10 bottle every few weeks and watching the stain come right back. The Environmental Protection Agency says the same thing I am about to say, and they say it plainly. Mold control is moisture control. Fix the water, dry the material, clean what can be cleaned, remove what cannot. And then, only then, does any follow-up make sense. By the end of this video, you will know exactly when a cheap clove oil follow-up is reasonable, when it is foolish, what to do first, what to throw away, and how to stop paying for the same patch twice. That is the promise, and I will keep it honest. Now, I should tell you who I am and why I am the one saying this. My name is Dot. I am 72 years old, and I grew up in Kansas watching my mother run a whole household on almost nothing. She raised 6 of us through years when there was no money for bottles under the sink, and she never once bought what she could make or do herself. She knew the difference between a wall that needed cleaning and a wall that needed cutting out, and she did not pretend one was the other. I am not a mold scientist. I am a grandmother who has kept a thrifty, clean home her whole life, and who cannot stand to watch good money, especially on a fixed income, go to waste on something that does not work because nobody told you the real first step. Before I show you what to do, you need to understand why it works, because that is what tells you what to expect and what not to expect. And this part matters more than the spray bottle, so stay with me. The plain reason mold keeps coming back after you spray it is not that the bottle was too weak. It is that mold grows wherever moisture stays. That is it. That is the whole engine. The EPA and the CDC both say the same foundational thing. The key to mold control is moisture control. Wet materials need to be dried within 24 to 48 hours or mold starts. Indoor humidity above 60% feeds it. A bathroom where the fan never runs and the door stays closed after a hot shower is a mold nursery. And no bottle on the shelf at the hardware store changes that. Now, the second thing you need to understand is surface type, because this is where most of the bad advice falls apart. Hard surfaces, tile, sealed countertop, porcelain, glass, can usually be scrubbed and dried. They are not porous. The mold sits on top. You clean it, you dry it, it is gone. Semi-porous surfaces like structurally sound wood or concrete can sometimes be cleaned if the material underneath is still intact. But truly porous materials, and this is the sentence that keeps this whole video honest, drywall, insulation, ceiling tile, carpet padding, mold can grow down into them, and once it does, spraying the surface does not reach what is inside. The EPA and OSHA both say the same thing. Porous, moldy materials often have to be removed, not sprayed. That is not what the bottle label tells you, but it is the truth. So where does clove oil fit? Here is the real answer, not the hype answer. Clove oil's main active compound is called eugenol. It has real, documented antifungal activity in laboratory studies, including against the kinds of mold genera you find indoors. That is genuine. That gives this method a real backbone, not a made-up one. But laboratory activity on a petri dish is not the same thing as a proven household wall remediation protocol. The EPA's mold guidance does not list any essential oil, or any biocide for that matter, as the routine answer. So I am going to be plain with you. Expect clove oil to work as a low-cost follow-up on surfaces you have already cleaned and dried. A cheap adjunct, not a miracle. Not a substitute for drying, not a substitute for scrubbing, and certainly not a substitute for cutting out a ruined panel. One more plain point, and then we will get to the doing. Oil and water do not truly mix on their own. They separate. If you put clove oil in a spray bottle of water and let it sit, the oil floats to the top and the water sits at the bottom. You have to shake that bottle hard every single time you spray, and even then you are getting a temporary dispersion, not a dissolved solution. A drop or two of dish soap helps hold the droplets apart a little longer. But I want you to know this so you are not standing there wondering why your spray seems uneven. Shake it, every time. Now, if you are finding this useful and you want more of these old, low-cost ways that keep real money in the house, subscribe. I put one of these out every week, and I keep the numbers plain. That is all I will say about it. Let us get back to work. Here is the honest lane for this method. Small area, under about 10 square feet. No sewage involved, no contamination in the heating and cooling system, no extensive water damage behind the wall, no mushy drywall or insulation, and nobody with a compromised immune system or serious lung condition handling the cleanup. The EPA says most healthy homeowners can handle areas under roughly 3 feet by 3 feet themselves. Larger areas, contaminated water, and certain health situations push this out of do-it-yourself territory and into professional remediation. I want you to hear that clearly, because the money you save by doing this yourself is real, but only if the job is actually a do-it-yourself job. Let me walk you through the materials, and I will put a price on everything. Pure clove essential oil, 1 fluid ounce. You can get a common bottle at Walmart for about $7.99. 1 teaspoon is about 1/6 of that bottle. So one batch of spray costs you roughly $1.33 worth of oil. A 32-ounce spray bottle, about $6.98 at the hardware store. Dish soap, a basic 18-ounce bottle, about $2.94, and you will use pennies of it. An N95 mask. A 10-pack runs about $23.98, so one mask is about $2.40. Disposable nitrile gloves, about $2.97 for 10, so roughly 30 cents a pair. A reusable microfiber cloth, about $12.99 for a pack of 12, or about $1 a piece. Now, before you touch any of that, let me say something plain about what to avoid, because there is a lot of bad advice on this one. Do not assume that black color means toxic black mold. The CDC says mold color does not tell you whether it is more or less dangerous. Do not paint over it. Do not caulk over it. The EPA says not to cover moldy surfaces without cleaning and drying first, because you are just sealing the problem in, and it will come right back worse. Do not soak drywall with any liquid. You are feeding the very thing you are trying to stop. And do not think a stronger smell from a spray means deeper cleaning. It does not. Here are the steps in order, and the order matters. Step 1. Decide whether this is a cleaning job or a removal job. Before you pick up the bottle, press the wall. If drywall feels soft, swollen, crumbly, or the paper face is staining clean through to the back, this is not a spray rescue. If carpet pad, insulation, ceiling tile, or soaked drywall is involved, the EPA and OSHA say those porous materials often need to come out, not sprayed. Out. This is the step where the script earns your trust, because nobody selling you a bottle wants to tell you to throw the material away. But that is sometimes the honest answer, and I would rather you hear it from me than find out after you have spent another $50 on sprays that do not reach what is inside the wall. Step 2. Stop the moisture first. Fix the leak. Dry the area. Get the room below 60% humidity. The EPA says 30 to 50% is the ideal range. Run the bathroom fan during and after every shower. Open the window if you can. Wipe condensation off the walls. The cheapest mold product in America is a drywall. That is not a cute line. That is the whole foundation of everything I am about to show you. If you skip this step, nothing else I say matters. The clove oil will not save you. The $10 spray will not save you. Nothing saves a wall that stays wet. Step 3. Suit up before you disturb it. Put on the N95 mask. Put on the gloves. Open a window if practical and point air out of the room, not back through the house. Because when you start cleaning, you are going to disturb spores and you do not want to blow them into every other room. Keep children and pets out until the cleanup is done and the surfaces are dry. The CDC says some people should not clean mold themselves. If you have serious asthma, chronic lung disease, or a weakened immune system, this is a job for someone else or for a professional. Now listen, this is important. A $2 mask and 30 cents of gloves are not optional. They are the cheapest safety you will ever buy. Step 4. Physically remove the visible growth from the surface. This is the real work, and no spray replaces it. On hard surfaces, tile, sealed trim, porcelain, glass, the EPA says detergent and water is the standard first step. Wet a microfiber cloth with a little mild soapy water and wipe or lightly scrub. On structurally sound wood, you can do the same, but gently, do not soak it. On grout that is still solid, scrub with the soapy cloth and dry thoroughly. The point of this step is that you are physically lifting the visible mold off the surface. The clove oil does not replace this. It comes after. Step 5. Mix the clove follow-up and mix it honestly. Put about 2 cups of water in your spray bottle, roughly 16 ounces. Add 1 teaspoon of pure clove essential oil. Add 1 or 2 drops of unscented dish soap. That soap is not a cleaning agent here. It helps the oil disperse in the water a little more evenly when you shake. Now cap the bottle and shake it hard. Every time you pick it up to spray, shake it again. This is a shaken dispersion, not a stable solution. And if you do not shake it, you are spraying plain water from the bottom and a film of oil from the top. The cost of this batch is about $1.33 for the oil and a fraction of a penny for the soap. That is your whole follow-up spray for about $1.35. Step 6. Apply it lightly to the area you have already cleaned and dried. Mist. Do not soak. That matters especially on grout, painted trim, and soundwood, because oversaturation feeds the same moisture problem you just fixed. 1 or 2 light passes. Then let it air dry completely. What you are doing here is leaving behind a low-cost residue with real antifungal properties on a surface you have already cleaned and dried. You are not killing a root system inside drywall. You are not sterilizing a wall forever. You are giving a cleaned surface a cheap follow-up that has genuine laboratory support behind it. Keep the claim modest and the method stays honest. Step 7. Recheck in 24 to 48 hours. If the patch stays gone and the room stays dry, the method did its honest job. If the staining comes back, if the room still smells musty, if the material feels soft, the problem is not that you need more clove oil. The problem is that moisture is still present or the contamination is inside the material where no surface spray can reach. That is your signal to remove the damaged material or call a professional. And there is no shame in that. A $50 professional consultation that finds the leak is cheaper than a year of sprays that hide it. Now let me say something plain about the common wrong approach, because I see it everywhere and it costs people real money. The wrong way is this: spray bleach on the stain, leave the leak alone, close the bathroom door, repaint the wall, and wait. The stain comes back in a few weeks. Buy another bottle, spray again, repaint again. And the cycle goes on until the drywall is so damaged the whole wall has to come out. And now you are looking at hundreds or thousands of dollars. The EPA does not recommend bleach or other biocides as routine mold cleanup practice. Bleach can lighten the stain so it looks gone, but on porous surfaces it does not reach the growth underneath, and the water in the bleach can actually add moisture to the material. That cycle of spray, repaint, repeat is the expensive myth I am trying to correct. Now, I want to tell you where this comes from, and I want to be honest about it. Clove oil is a real apothecary substance with a long history. Eugenol, the compound that gives it that strong, warm smell, has had a place in medicine and dentistry for generations, and it has genuine pharmacopoeial recognition. Old apothecaries knew it was potent. That part is true and well documented. What I will not tell you is that 1930s housewives had a standard clove oil spray for bathroom drywall mold. That would be a made-up story, and I do not tell those. What the careful old households did know, and this is the real heritage, is that a damp material had to be dried fast, scrubbed if it could be cleaned, or thrown out if it stayed wet. They knew a wet wall cost money if you pretended it was dry. And they knew strong plant oils had real uses in the home. You are not learning a magic depression trick. You are recovering two older truths at once. Strong plant oils have their uses, and a wet wall will always cost you more if you pretend it is dry. My mother would have said it plainer than that. Dry it or cut it out. There is no third choice. Now, the prevention rhythm is where the real saving lives, because the cheapest mold treatment is the one you never need. Run the bathroom fan during and after every shower. Wipe down condensation on the walls and the mirror. Leave the bathroom door open after you shower so the room can breathe. Fix drips the week they start, not the month they get bad. The EPA recommends keeping indoor humidity below 60%, ideally 30 to 50, and drying wet materials within a day or two. If your bathroom always runs damp and you want to see it plainly, a small digital hygrometer costs under $10, and it makes the invisible problem visible. You look at it, you see 65%, and you know the fan needs to run longer. That one cheap tool turns guessing into knowing. But the deeper lesson is simpler than any gadget. The room that stays dry stops buying mold products. The room that stays wet buys them forever. Now, I want to be honest about what this does and what it does not do, because I would rather lose you here with the truth than keep you with a promise I cannot back. Strong evidence, straight from the EPA and the CDC. Fix the water source, dry fast, control humidity, scrub hard surfaces with detergent and water, and discard porous materials when they cannot be effectively cleaned. That is the core of everything I have shown you, and it is as solid as it gets. Conditional evidence. Cleaning structurally sound wood or concrete if the material is intact and can be dried. OSHA says semi-porous materials can sometimes be cleaned if they are still sound. That is a judgment call, and you make it by pressing the material and being honest about what you feel. Lab-strong but household-mild evidence. Clove oil and eugenol as an antifungal. There is real laboratory support. There is not enough to promise that a water-based household spray permanently remediates mold inside porous walls. So I call it what it is, a follow-up adjunct. A cheap, lab-plausible extra step on a surface you have already cleaned and dried. Not the whole remediation. Where this fails, more than about 10 square feet, repeated regrowth from inside drywall, sewage or contaminated water, mold in your heating and cooling system, anyone with significant mold sensitivity or immune compromise handling the work, hidden wall or ceiling cavities you cannot see. Those are professional lanes. Do not try to save money on a problem that is bigger than a spray bottle. And one more honest point about the title. Black mold is a phrase people use, but the CDC says mold color does not tell you whether it is more or less dangerous. Unless you have had a laboratory test, you do not actually know what species you are looking at. And almost nobody has had that test. So do not panic because it is black, and do not relax because it is green. The question is always the same. Is the material wet? Is it porous? Is it small enough to handle? And have you fixed the source? Now, the safety. Do not mix bleach with ammonia or vinegar. That creates toxic gas, and both the EPA and OSHA warn against it. Do not let children or pets get into the clove oil bottle. Poison Control warns that essential oils can cause serious poisoning when misused, and clove oil is potent enough to irritate skin on contact. Keep it out of reach, treat it like any household chemical, and do not handle it casually just because it comes from a plant. And if your cleanup crosses into demolition in an older home, if you are pulling out drywall or paneling, slow down and think about whether there could be lead paint or other old hazards behind that wall before you start tearing. Now, I want to take a moment because here is where it all comes together. Look at what we have walked through. First, you decide whether the material can be saved or has to go. Then you fix the moisture and dry the room. Then you suit up, scrub the surface with soap and water, and only after all of that do you mix a $1.35 batch of clove oil spray and mist it lightly on what you already cleaned. You recheck in a day or two. If it holds and the room stays dry, you are done. If it comes back, the problem is deeper and you pivot to removal or a professional. The honest math is plain. Let me lay it out. A first-time kit, buying everything new, clove oil, $7.99. Spray bottle, $6.98. One N95 mask, about $2.40. One pair of gloves, about 30 cents. Pennies of dish soap. Call it roughly $17.70 if you buy every single item fresh. But only about $1.33 of the clove oil is used in one batch, so your per-use cost after the first purchase is about $1.35. Now, a ready-to-use quart of a common commercial mold product runs about $10 to $11 at the hardware store, and many viewers have bought 2 or 3 of those already, plus the paint to cover the stain, plus the caulk. $20, $30, $40, and the patch keeps coming back because nobody fixed the moisture. Professional remediation for a bathroom often starts at $500 and goes to $1,000 or more for wall cavities and structural problems. The honest conclusion is not that my spray beats every product. It is this. If the area is genuinely small and the surface is cleanable, the clove follow-up is a cheap adjunct after you do the real work. If the material is ruined or the moisture persists, the money question is demolition and drying, not which bottle you bought. The bigger value is what you stop buying. The repeat sprays, the repaint, the next bottle, the cycle that never ends because nobody told you to dry the wall first. There is no money in teaching a family to keep the bathroom dry, wipe the condensation, and remove one damaged panel before it spreads. There is, however, steady money in selling one more spray, one more stain blocker, one more odor cover, one more panic purchase after the patch comes back. That is not a conspiracy. It is plainer than that. When something works without you buying it over and over, there is not much financial reason for anybody to build an aisle around teaching it. 2 generations of families got a little more comfortable, stopped worrying about the small damp spot, and the knowledge quietly faded, until somebody looked at the 3rd bottle of mold spray and remembered that the real fix was always the boring one. Dry it first. The EPA's guidance says the same thing every time you read it. The answer keeps coming back to the cheap thing. Dry it, clean it, remove what cannot be saved, and stop the moisture. You can be the one who stopped paying for the same wet corner. This was never really about a phrase like toxic black mold. It was about whether you know the difference between contamination that can be cleaned, material that has to go, and a humidity problem that will keep charging you rent until somebody handles it. The dignity is not in the biggest shelf of sprays. It is in the home where the leak gets fixed, the wall gets dried, and nobody pays twice for the same wet corner. A careful home is not the one with the fanciest products. It is the one where somebody knew what to do and did it once, properly, for almost nothing. Here is what I want you to do tonight. Go look at that patch. Press the wall. If the material is still sound, measure it. If it is under about 10 square feet, dry the room, suit up, and clean the visible growth off the surface with soap and water. This week, mix the clove follow-up and apply it to the cleaned, dry area. Watch whether the room stays dry enough to keep it gone. Run the fan. Wipe the walls after you shower. This month, check the fan, hunt the drip, and consider picking up a cheap humidity monitor if that room always runs damp. Under $10, and it tells you what your eyes cannot see. This season, stop buying repeat sprays for a room that really needs better drying habits. The money you save is not dramatic in 1 week. It is dramatic over a year of not buying the same bottle, not repainting the same stain, not calling in the professional you could have avoided by keeping one room dry. Now, before I go, I want to hear from you. And I mean that. Which room in your house keeps trying to grow something back? The bathroom, the basement, the laundry room, or a window corner? Tell me in the comments. And if your mother or your grandmother had a plain old housekeeping rule for keeping damp out of a room, the window she always cracked, the trick with the fan, the way she wiped the walls every morning, write it down below. These are exactly the little household truths that disappear when nobody says them out loud, and I read every single one. If you found this useful and you want more of the old, low-cost ways that keep real money in the house, subscribe. I put one of these out every week, and the numbers are always plain. Next time, I will show you the old, low-cost way to stop bathroom condensation before it becomes tomorrow's mold bill. Same principle, different problem, same few cents of prevention. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Until then, fix the leak, dry the room, clean the surface, and use the follow-up where it belongs, on a wall that is already clean and dry. Do not pay $10 every few weeks to spray a wall that never dried. Dry it once, clean it once, follow up for $1.35, and let the room breathe. That is how the careful old folks kept a home clean and a family safe on almost nothing. That is how it is still done in any home that remembers.